Should you kiss girls in the club, or is it better to focus on pulling?
Yeah, I tell my students not to kiss. Um,
Mm.
I tell them not to try escalate too much. The reason I say this is because so many guys are focused on this. So many guys try to replace
Mhm.
good game with groping the fucking girl. Maybe they should have more of those signs from Japan, but they just get to this point where it's like they're so desperate for the makeout, and then they get it and they seem so happy. And it's like all you're conveying to the girl is that you feel super excited about this little validation that she gave you. You hand over all the power, and it doesn't usually build anything. Now, I say it as a general rule, but there are exceptions to this. If it's me, yeah, I make out a lot in the club, right? Or half the time or quarter of the time. Um, and some of my students, they're really good at it and they can make out in a way that builds tension. They can actually show some value through the makeout. They can give the girl an idea of what a sexual interaction them would feel like. So if you're a guy that can make out with a girl where it looks like this and the girl gets close, you kind of pull away a little bit, you're building some tension, you run your hand up the back of her hair, you grab like a fistful of her hair and you move it and you make out, you pull back, you tell her that's all she's going to get. Or maybe you like tease her neck a little bit. All these are amazing ways to build sexual tension and to show some value. So if that's how you're going to do it that way. If you're the guy that's like really needy and just trying to get a makeout to say you got a makeout, then you're better off trying to build sexual tension through your verbals. You're better off like allowing the girl to chase a little bit and not go for it. I would say even during sex, like even when it comes to sexual escalation back at the house, I think the best way to escalate is through a massage. Massage, start eating her out. You can go to fuck it. Like honestly, if I look at like half my pulls, I probably don't make out with the girl until after sex or like the next time I meet her. It's just not an important thing that you have to do. So to these guys, I'd really ask them like, why are you going for the makeout? If it's because it's building sexual tension, you're developing some value here and you're moving it forward, do it in that way. If it's just because you think it's some step that you have to do and you feel really great about getting a makeout, then maybe avoid it.
Yeah, I agree. Probably 70, 80% of my pulls, I don't go for the kiss. I think a lot of times, I had a student make out with a girl 16 times. I'm like, all right, what did you do? Like, what's the difference between 15 makeouts and 16 makeouts? Like, what did you change here? He was like, oh, I don't know. Right. And also a lot of times if you're making out with a girl in front of her friends, sometimes you trigger like the mama bear of the group to like become overly protective too. So I've seen a lot of sets where the girl's on, the guy's like, oh shit, let me unleash 10 years of no kino on this one girl that will let me kiss her.
Yes.
And then and then the friends are like, what the fuck? And then they just grab her away. Right. So I think, dude, to be honest, like after you've been in the game a while, building attraction is not even that hard. The bottleneck comes down to logistics and solving any downstream issues. Most likely, if you know what you're doing, you go out every night, you're gonna find, a couple of girls that are gonna be down. It just comes to like, can you isolate her from her friends? But yeah, a lot of guys get too obsessed with the make out. They don't really see the long term vision or the picture, and it's not. I don't think the make out's really necessary for pulling or closing. I've had girls that, and some girls are kind of weird, right? They see kissing as like a very intimate thing. I've had girls be okay with sex but not want to kiss, right? And so it just also differs between girl to girl. Some are okay with it. Some just have weird intimacy issues where they think like kissing is reserved for boyfriends and whatnot. So yeah, it's okay to do it. You do it once just as a litmus test for compliance and make a man a woman, but after one makeout, I think the diminishing return kicks in. Like, there's really no point in doing more than that or too many times.
Mm. My perspective on this is pretty straightforward, I guess. It's merely the idea that it's better to withhold kissing in order to build some kind of sexual tension. So getting a kiss with a girl can be some form of validation, and then there got to be so many guys watching this that have managed to get plenty of makeouts at nightclubs. And then what happened? Nothing more. She went away, she disappeared with her friends. You never saw her for the rest of your life. Maybe you exchanged phone numbers, but nothing else really fucking happened. It's merely partially focusing on pulling and partially just the fact that you're building up sexual tension. And then at least you're actually doing something that lasts longer rather than just like getting a self-validating kiss for both of you and then just disappearing off into the night separate ways like nothing fucking happened. So it's way better to withhold it in my experience and to actually pull her, and it does help, than to actually just do it in a club.
Yeah.
Artie, what was I gonna fucking say? I fucking forgot.
I can I'll stay for one more question, Ice, and then I gotta bounce.
Artie, what are some cities you guys mutually know relatively well? So maybe you both know Vegas very well, Miami, New York, or any other cities we can think of.
Sydney.
I haven't been there.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
not Sydney.
the places like coaching gaming is like going to be like some in Australia, Bali, places in Europe, so like Warsaw. I've gamed through Croatia, Budapest. I'm sure there's some couple other places there, and then in America, I've done like the major cities. But yeah,
All right, so where I'm getting at is out of the pool of knowledge we have right now, let's focus on our stronger knowledge base of Las Vegas, for example, or Miami and New York. What kind of things can we mention about Las Vegas, for example, that could be useful to guys in terms of dating and night game, day game, whatever?
Yeah, so one thing about I like about Vegas is anybody can get in, so you don't need to know people if you get on the guest list. So it's just very it's like a very equal sort of thing. You go out in LA or New York, you kind of have to know people or you're gonna have to tip them. Vegas is just like you show up on time, you put yourself on the guest list. It's just very low friction. It's easy to get in, easy to get out. So I like that aspect. Logistics are good. I would say it's pretty even spread of demographics. So like there's white girls, there's Latinas, decent ratio of like Asian girls. So it's a good mix. I would say night game is probably number one in the country, but day game is pretty mid. I don't think day game in Vegas is that amazing. Just number one, the malls here are pretty meh. Uh, there's only a few good malls. The other ones, it's a lot of families and just kind of poor quality of sets. And also a lot of girls are going to be leaving. So, I mean, if you just want to practice approaching and just have a conversation, day game is okay. But like I said, the odds of you actually meeting up with a girl, especially if you meet her like Friday and Saturday, it's going to be hard just because most girls have plans. They're celebrating something. They're already like going out to dinner with their girlfriends or they're going to clubs. So actually meeting up is hard, especially with tourists. If you're trying to date locals, there's a probability, but again, you're gonna have to be staying here a little bit more long term. I think one thing that's really good about Vegas is there is a lot of competition. There's kind of a misconception that every girl in Vegas is DTF and it's going to be super easy. Well, it's not. You're competing with guys that are dropping 5, 10K on tables. You're competing with other dating programs. You're competing with guys that have been living in Vegas for 6 months, a year, that go out every single night. But competition isn't a bad thing. I think it propels you to sink or swim. So, and it teaches you to how to like make shit happen quickly. I think if you have the ability to escalate and pull quickly, you can dial it back and do it slowly. So, yeah, I think if you want to learn night game, if you want to deal with like complex variables, complex situations, bigger group sets, is very good good in that regard. And also I like the fact that the clubs in Vegas are not very much they're not it's not a specific demographic. It's not like one type of groupie or it's very diverse. And I think there's a lot of mingling, right? There's like what you want is turbulence and like movement inside the club, right? Sometimes you go to other clubs, it's like everybody came with their groups of friends and they just stay at the same table. And it's like there's not a lot of dynamicness to the club, right? So in Vegas, there's just sometimes you see a 2 set, 3 set, 4 set. You get international groups, and they're all just moving about. And I think it's a very good dynamic for goal approaching.
I found it strange that the clubs were literally just like a small dance floor and then a shitload of fucking tables. I was like, what's the fucking point of the tables if everyone has a fucking table? Just like the opposite of what I'm used to.
For the
The
club,
best place I found to game when I was in Vegas was like the fucking lobbies, right?
yeah, they're cracking down on that. It's kind of
Oh, are they?
unfortunate. There's just too many pickup dudes. It's just the clubs, the casinos, they're catching up on it, and a lot of people are getting banned for. I mean, you don't even have to do anything wrong. They could just not like you and just be like, all right, get the
Yeah.
fuck. You're 86th. So, um,
And isn't
yeah,
it like they have like these shared databases? So if you get banned from one, you're basically banned from like at least half of all the fucking places in the city.
well, some of these casinos own half the other casinos. So yeah, if you like, MGM owns half the whole fucking strip. So yeah, if you're banned on one property, you're gonna be banned on all of them, right? So I would tell people that are watching this, um, just play it safe. Like, don't unless you don't plan on coming to Vegas a lot, just wait till you get in the club to approach. If you're in the lobby, especially when it's late at night, if it's like 3, 4 in the morning, and you're the only dude, like I mean, the technology of their security cams are just, I mean, they could just track, they could put you on a watch list or a hit list, and they could track everything, right? It's just like from one camera to one camera, they know exactly what you're doing.
Mm.
So if it's 4 in the morning, you're just the solo guy, just zigzagging between girls coming out of the club. They know you're cold approaching. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. 10 years ago, I mean, it was
Hmm.
kind of a much better place, but secret's kind of out.
And what do you feel about like during the summer, the pool parties or like the day clubs? What are your thoughts on those?
I don't really run programs in day clubs because it's technically still night game, right? Like my definition of night game is alcohol, music, and social environment. So I don't really think a pool party is day game. So I don't take guys out to pool parties. I just take them to malls because at the end of the day, I want them to like be able to transfer these skills back home, right? So I think doing day game at malls is more representative. But as far as what I think about day clubs, I think it's worse than nightclubs for polling. I think you're gonna have a more is it more fun? Maybe. I think some people inherently think day clubs are just more entertaining. I think if you got a 6 pack and you've been shredding all spring and like that's your thing, definitely go check it out. But I think people are just gonna be more down at nighttime to get pulled. So I think night game is gonna be more efficient in that regards. But also it's just like you meet a girl at a pool party, she's fucking smelling like chlorine. That pool is nasty as fuck. You don't know like how much dingleberry juice and nasty ball sweat is in that water. I
Oh,
pull from pool parties, like then you gotta like get them home and like make sure they shower. It's a mess. And a lot of times they're leaving their cell phones. They never have their shit. It's like, oh, my friend has all my stuff. It's in a locker room. And then this is another layer of like problem solving. All right.
okay.
One of your friends has your phone and wallet. Okay, let's go find them. Oh, she has the keys.
And then you got to pull her 70 miles to fucking
Well, I live in Vegas.
Temecula. What the fuck?